Imagine Corsica in 1769. A legend was born. Napoleon Bonaparte. His family had limited means. Napoleon showed a thirst for knowledge. He dreamt of great conquests. At 9, he left Corsica. He attended military school in France. Life was strict and regimented. Napoleon excelled in his studies. He mastered the art of war, dreaming of glory on the battlefield. His time was coming. The French Revolution sent shockwaves across Europe. It was a time of great upheaval, a chaotic mix of fear and fervour. For Napoleon, it was an opportunity. He rose through the ranks, his tactical brilliance shining through. In 1793, at the siege of Toulon, Napoleon's military genius emerged. He devised a daring plan, positioning artillery on high ground. This strategic manoeuvre helped recapture the port from British forces and earned him recognition. His success at Toulon catapulted him to prominence. He was promoted to brigadier general at the age of 24. His star was rising fast, fueled by ambition and a string of victories. Napoleon's next challenge took him to Italy. He assumed command of the French army, facing a formidable Austrian force. His Italian campaign was a masterclass in military strategy. Napoleon's swift maneuvers and decisive victories earned him the admiration of his troops and the fear of his enemies. News of Napoleon's victories in Italy reached Paris. He returned a hero, his name on everyone's lips. France, weary of revolution, yearned for stability. Napoleon, ambitious and charismatic, saw an opportunity. The government, known as the Directory, was weak and ineffective. Napoleon, in a cunning political maneuver, seized power in a coup d'état. This bloodless takeover marked the end of the French Revolution and the beginning of the Consulate. In 1799, at the age of 30, Napoleon declared himself First Consul of France. He presented himself as the saviour of the nation, promising order and prosperity. The French people, exhausted by years of turmoil, embraced their new leader. Napoleon quickly consolidated his power. He established a new constitution, centralized the government, and reformed the legal system. He proved to be a skilled administrator, as adept at governing as he was at waging war. With France firmly under his control, Napoleon set his sights on a grander title: Emperor. In 1804, in a lavish ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral, he crowned himself Emperor of the French. Napoleon's ambition knew no bounds. He embarked on a series of military campaigns that would reshape the map of Europe. His armies, known as the Grande Armée, marched from victory to victory. One of Napoleon's most celebrated triumphs was the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805. Facing a combined Austrian and Russian force, Napoleon outmaneuvered and crushed his enemies. The Battle of Austerlitz cemented his reputation as a military genius and sent shockwaves through the courts of Europe. The Napoleonic Code, a legacy in law. Napoleon's impact extended far beyond the battlefield. He was a man of great vision, seeking to leave his mark on all aspects of French society. One of his most enduring legacies is the Napoleonic Code. Enacted in 1804, the Napoleonic Code was a comprehensive legal system that modernized French law. It enshrined the principles of equality before the law, religious tolerance, and the separation of church and state. The Napoleonic Code was a radical departure from the fragmented and often contradictory legal systems of pre-revolutionary France. It provided a unified and accessible body of law, replacing feudal privileges with a system based on merit. The influence of the Napoleonic Code extended far beyond the borders of France. It served as a model for legal reforms throughout Europe and Latin America, its principles shaping legal systems to this day. The Napoleonic Wars, Europe in the balance. The early 19th century was a time of unprecedented conflict in Europe. The Napoleonic Wars, a series of wars pitting France against various coalitions, raged across the continent. Napoleon's armies marched from the shores of Spain to the heart of Russia. His ambition to create a French-dominated Europe threatened the established order. Countries like Britain, Austria, Prussia and Russia formed alliances to counter his growing power. The Napoleonic Wars were a clash of titans, a struggle for supremacy that left a profound mark on Europe. They were characterized by their scale, intensity, and the military innovations they spawned. Napoleon's tactics, including his use of mass conscription and mobile artillery, revolutionized warfare. The Russian winter, a turning point. In 1812, Napoleon made a fateful decision. He invaded Russia. The Grand Army, at the peak of its power, marched eastward, aiming to crush the Russian resistance and bring Tsar Alexander I to his knees. The Russian campaign proved to be a disaster. The vast distances, scorched earth tactics employed by the Russians, and the brutal Russian winter decimated Napoleon's army. The retreat from Moscow was a harrowing ordeal. Starvation, disease, and relentless attacks by Russian forces took a heavy toll. Napoleon's once mighty army was reduced to a shadow of its former self. The disastrous Russian campaign marked a turning point in the Napoleonic Wars. It weakened Napoleon's grip on power and emboldened his enemies. The tide was turning against the French emperor. Abdication, exile, and the 100 Days. Weakened and facing mounting pressure, Napoleon abdicated in 1814. He was exiled to the island of Elba, a small island off the coast of Italy. However, Napoleon's exile was short-lived. In 1815 he escaped from Elba and returned to France. His reappearance ignited a wave of enthusiasm, and he quickly raised a new army. Thus began the period known as the 100 Days. The 100 Days culminated in the Battle of Waterloo on June 18, 1815. Napoleon's forces faced a British and Prussian army led by the Duke of Wellington. In a brutal battle that raged for hours, Napoleon's army was defeated. Waterloo marked the end of Napoleon's reign and the Napoleonic Wars. He was once again exiled, this time to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic. The legacy of Napoleon, a complex tapestry. Napoleon died in exile on May 5, 1821, at the age of 51. His death marked the end of an era. Napoleon's legacy is complex, a mix of brilliance, ambition and tragedy. His military genius revolutionized warfare. His tactics shaped modern military thinking. His victories inspired generations of soldiers. Beyond the battlefield, his impact was profound. The Napoleonic Code emphasized equality and meritocracy. His reforms modernized France. Napoleon's legacy remains debated. He was a brilliant strategist and a ruthless conqueror. His impact on history is undeniable. Napoleon left an indelible mark on Europe and the world. Like and subscribe for more.